everyone, thank you so much for coming to check out my second video. I'm actually completely blown away by the amount of people who watched and enjoyed my first one, so I'm hoping that this can be appropriate follow-up. Today I wanted to talk about my journal and my journaling practice and what that looks like for me, and share some of the tools and things that have been really helpful and supportive of that. So whether that's prompts and different books and objects that I used, and also things that are stationery related that I find really fun to use. So this is a hobonichi A5 notebook. It's nice because it has, if for those that are unaware, a special paper called Tomoe River paper, which is really thin but still capable of handling all kinds of different media. It's particularly good for fountain pens, which I love to use. It can also withstand watercolor and other kind of paint, so it's really cool, but it doesn't get super thick. Mine's a little fluffy because I like to paste and tip things in, but it is generally a great way to get a lot of journaling in a minimal amount of space. My journaling practice has evolved a lot over the last few years, and the whole creative side of it is actually very new to me. I kind of used to keep things really simple and write about what I needed to. I actually found one of my old journals. I used to, well, still love Leuchtturm 1917 dot grade journals, like lifelong fan, and I'll still probably use one. I'm thinking of starting up a special interest commonplace type thing for a couple of different areas of my life, inspired by Megan Rhiannon's binders, but I think I want to do it in Leuchtturms because I have a stash of them. But anyway, this is kind of what I've used in the past. I've been using the little system of icons for a long time, but that also comes to play in my latest journal, and I've had a couple of questions about my little system of icons. So I actually prepared a list of the different ones that I use, and I'll kind of go through this as kind of a bit of a, let's call it an agenda for what I'll talk about today. But I did want to mention this sticker is from a Toronto creator. His name is Ben. He goes as at Boring Friends, and you should definitely check out his stuff if you're into creativity, overcoming your fear of getting started with whatever it is you're called to create. He has great merch and a lot of really helpful resources too, so check him out at Boring Friends. Before we get into this kind of corresponds to this. I set up like a little dashboard for myself in my journal. I've printed out a sticker from Megan Rhiannon's archive collection, I think, that I use to document, did I do that journaling thing that day? And I can see what's a popular thing for me. Did I use my Filofax? I've fallen off with my stoic, my intention setting. I actually haven't updated this fully. I did go and do some of this, but basically my journaling practice consists of a few things. So do every day, this is what I bare minimum, I try and do gratitude. So that's 3 to 5 bullet points on something I'm grateful for. It could be something simple like, ooh, coffee is delicious, or I had a great sleep. And sometimes it's like, ooh, I feel like I had this giant breakthrough in something, or I got promoted. You know, it can be all kinds of things. That's part of my mindset retraining, and that's a bigger mission that I'm on, and that's what all of this is. My journal, in a lot of ways, is my evidence for how I'm growing and changing and learning to reframe things away from an anxious, hyper-vigilant type of mindset into something a little bit more hopeful, mindful. This has been invaluable for me, alongside a couple of other practices, which I'll mention. The next thing is intention setting, and that's just about how I want to conduct myself that day, basically. That's what that means to me. What kind of thing do I want to bring in or call in or embody that day, whether that's making sure I'm staying calm through something or trying to be focused about a certain thing. That's what that's really about. Goal-related reflection, or that should actually say intention, is something specific to a goal that I'm working on. This is about the why I'm doing that thing. It's the complement to the to-do list piece. It's talking about why that's important, and it kind of creates that intrinsic fire that it stokes the flame for getting that thing done. and I found that really helpful. And I have just like a general entry, and then I have a subset of that, which is the little moon. That's reflections on the day. At the end of the day, how did I perform in all of these areas? What are key takeaways? My commonplace indicator, that's for copied text. In this particular journal, I tend to favor a lot of content that's complementary to the things I'm working on in therapy. I'm a really big fan of Young Pueblo. I copy a lot of that stuff out into here. And then I do my daily stoic reflections, which I've talked about in my previous video, but just to kind of go over what it looks like as a practice, I read the thing for the day, and I don't do it every single day, or sometimes I just read it and I don't write about it. I read the little thing, it's not that long, and then I kind of try and relate it to something in my life, and more often than not, there's something valuable, there's some sort of nugget in there, or I use it as a prompt to reflect back on something that I've dealt with in the past, and I use that kind of prompt as an invitation to explore and reflect on the past in kind of a dedicated amount of time rather than kind of ruminating and overthinking and all these things. I found being very intentional about, okay, I'm going to go think about that thing that was really troubling to me a while ago, and I'm going to write about it now. And in the crazy world we live in, I feel like there's not a lot of time or not a lot of opportunity to actually go back and do that stuff. Journaling in general, it is like a record of things, and you can say, oh, that's how I thought about that thing. That's funny. I have a completely different take now. That's kind of the key piece of this. So whether you're reflecting on things that happen, like it's more of like a memory keeping type of thing, or it is like kind of deep work on healing some stuff that you need to deal with. That's kind of the core of this, is to watch yourself, to observe yourself. Just like in meditation, we observe our minds. Here we collect the evidence for how we've changed over time. So, sorry if that's sounding instructive. I mean, you do what works for you, but that's what I've found is kind of the whole beauty of this whole thing. And a really big caveat to all of that is I do this in conjunction with therapy. So journaling, meditation, therapy all together as like a really powerful trifecta for changing my life and getting into a more positive place. Onward, daily stoic. Sometimes I pull quotations, sometimes that's song lyrics or other stuff that I think is cool or that I find inspiring, so I'll just pop in some quotes. I have this special one, which is like a things to watch out for. Usually that comes up earlier on in my morning journal practice. This is a specific call out for things that may come up during the day that I know will be challenging, and just as a reminder to myself to get ready and put myself in a good state of mind for dealing with that thing as it comes. If I have an idea or some sort of breakthrough that I think is worth noting, I do this little light bulb, but it light bulb. I don't know if people know the show Rugrats, and Angelica the bully, she has that Barbie doll called Cynthia. It kind of looks like Cynthia. So the Cynthia ideas. Synthesis? Anyway, there's some sort of wordplay there, but whatever. Onward. I also do reviews of books, movies, music, concerts, that kind of thing. I like to document, but I'm also considering creating an ad hoc reference book for all those things. I have a bit of a practice going with some of my records where I write down what I was feeling that day or when I listened to it. I think pulling that into a more cohesive, singular unit might be something to try. Onward, scripting, that's a thing that I've been working on. For me, it is about reframing some of my anxieties and worries as working out okay. So learning to train my mind to actually think about things with the potential of a positive outcome, not just assuming that it's going to go badly, which is kind of where I've spent most of my time, but actually thinking about how might this actually go extremely well for me. And that's been really, really powerful. And then of course, tarot. I did mention this previously. This is one of my favorite decks. So cute and simple and easy to use. I have many, but this is a go-to and one that I recommend for people who are just starting out because it is kind of simple, but it works great. The way that works for me is basically I'll pull a card, and again, kind of alluding to that trigger to reflect on something. The way the tarot is structured, it basically tells the story of this the fool's life and all the different life areas that are part of a person's journey. That's what all the different suits mean. The tarot practice kind of calls me to think or reflect or notice something that I might not have been thinking about at that time, but it might introduce a different angle to approach it. Just like glitches the way that I'm thinking about stuff for a second. It's been really, really cool and helpful to kind of introduce that alternate view of things into my practice. So on to how my journaling works. I generally kind of do 1 session or 2 sessions, and I don't journal every single day, but I do try and go back and fill things out if I can. Like last night I went and did a whole bunch of daily stoic catch up, which was really, really cool and powerful, and I actually recorded that, and that's what you'll be seeing in today's journal with me chill vibes segment. Now I'm gonna talk quickly about some of my favorite tools that I love to use. So let's get into the fun stuff. So I already talked about the hobonichi. I love it. I actually have the next one ready to go. It has these really cute cats on the cover. I don't really want to cover it. I don't have to, I guess. I do obviously a lot of writing. These are my 3 favorite pens right now. I have a Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen. I go through one of these a month. This is a Mahjong A1 Moonman, which is a Pilot Vanishing Point knockoff, and this is like a really nice pen to use. It has like a nice weight to it. It's matte black. It looks sick, and it has a giant ink reservoir converter inside of it. I've really enjoyed this pen. I'm a little bit scared to buy fancy fountain pens, which here is one. I do lose pens quite a lot. I have 2 of these actually. I thought I lost it once, so I ordered another one, and then I found the other one. This has been like a really, really, really solid pen for me. Then I have my newest addition, which is the Sailor Pro Gear. I don't know if this is the slim or not, but it's my first gold nib fountain pen. I am looking for a larger tank converter solution. I don't know if that exists because I'm used to this one, which has a ton of ink capacity and runs out. I actually thought my pen was broken, but it turns out it was just empty, and my mind didn't expect it to be empty so quickly. And speaking of being empty, this is the ink that I use. So I use platinum carbon ink. It's permanent, never had any issues with it. It does take a little bit of time to dry, nothing crazy. You can watercolor over it, use markers, highlighters, whatever. It's fantastic, and it's less than half the price of the other one that people use, which is the Etrementis Archive ink. I'm happy with this. I feel no need to change it. And one thing I will actually mention is one of the things I'm working on kind of as like a weird side project experiment is coming up with a nice stationery situation for the backcountry and like taking it out on canoe trips. So waterproof, resilient. I'm making it right now. I have all the stuff that I need. I have quite a bit of a backcountry wilderness adventure background. Definitely part of who I am. But I love to go out into the deep dark woods and have a sweet time out there. I think it is magical and teaches a lot of great skills too. So that's the ink that I use. I guess I'll look at this stuff. This is my favorite, my yuruliku flat tool pen case. I bought it for myself for my birthday last year. Right now in it, speaking of ink tank capacity that I'm used to, is my family of TWSBI Ecos. So that's why I'm not used to ink running out so soon, because I feel like I only refilled those like every 3 months. I have a couple different ones in there with different fun inks. And then I love, a classic white ink jelly roll. I have some uni ball ones, which I really like. I tried the Pentel Cleana refill in them and it worked. I just prefer the one that it comes with. Got to get some refills for that. And then I have a pencil, a mechanical pencil, 2 mild liners, a knockoff Micron, which I use for drawing out my bullet journal spreads, a dot marker, and some Tombows that I use for highlighting and putting some structure to my pages. Some pins and little things that make me happy. I don't know if you can tell that I'm a very big fan of smiley faces. And also David Lynch, Twin Peaks, X-Files, anything creepy Pacific Northwest related is kind of exactly me. Let's not ignore this amazing baby charm that I found online. It kind of looks like Casper the Ghost from some angles, which makes me happy, but also I just think it's the cutest thing ever. I'm gonna be making a bunch of charms this weekend. I bought some things for charms, so that's a goal. Here's one right here. This little like mushroom with a little bow. I don't know, very cute. This is my toolbox in a Toyo steel toolbox. So that's like a Japanese toolbox brand. So I have this stamp that I actually bought recently. It's from a Toronto creator called Tulip Press Design Studio. And I bought it actually at Take Note store, which is my local stationery shop that I most often go to and love deeply. I use a Trodat pre-inked date stamp thing. I also really just like doing this. It's just super satisfying. Some washi tapes. I'm a big fan of this artist Death P Sun and their washi tapes and stickers and stuff. I have this Tombow Air tape roller. I used to use like cheap tape rollers, and then I ran out and bought like a real one, and wow, game changing. And then of course my jet fuel lighter. That's just amazing, which is a great segue into vibes of journaling. So I love to have some cool things to set in a nice environment for journaling. I feel like usually I'll meditate for a bit before I go into like a big session. I try and meditate every morning. So right after I meditate, I'll like calmly get into it. Some things that I'm loving recently are these hippie aroma matches. You just like light the match and it has incense in it. This is the ambergris. I really, really like those. I'm actually pretty sensitive to some perfume scents. It's kind of a big deal for me to find a nice kind of incense that actually works for me. So those are great. Of course, I love candles. These are two brands that I'm really loving. They're local to Ontario. There is Shy Wolf candles, which are poured in just about, I guess, an hour and a half north. And they're really sweet. They have a lot of really cool scents. You should definitely check them out. They have a lot of like witchy, cool, tarot themed, classic vinyl themed, and other themed candles. This Lone Lawn brand, hand poured in Toronto, and they have a lot of cool scents and like incense and essential oil products. That's kind of it. That's the rundown. And one other thing that I will quickly mention is a lot of people ask me about photos and pictures and stickers and things that I use. I print a lot of my own stuff just from pictures I've saved over the years. I have like folders of things. Like I'm a collector. I don't know what else to say. And I print some of them out on sticker paper, sometimes just on regular paper. I am a fan of the like Kokuyo business paper for printing pictures on as well, actually, because it's not quite as bright white as some of the other nice papers that I have. I have a sticker cutting machine, and I used to make my own little kind of like icon stickers and stuff, but it currently doesn't work because the Silhouette software doesn't work with the latest version of Mac OS, which is super irritating. I have these like little photo albums. I don't know, I print out pictures and I put them in here, and I flip through here and put some in. I just kind of like to look at them too. My own little coffee table books, in addition to Megan Rhiannon, whose stickers I use, and I really love the aesthetic. I'm also a very big fan of Dvodushnik. She is a Ukrainian artist who is currently working on a series of Ukrainian folk-inspired tarot cards, and her art and photography, actually, I think this is her photo as well, shows up pretty frequently in my journals. I am of Ukrainian background. Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava. A large piece of my journaling has been around the current situation and just a lot of the other kind of triggering things that have been brought up as a result of that. So that's the synopsis of my journaling practice, and I'm actually going to leave you with a couple of scenes from some of the vibes I created last night for myself, which I thought were particularly great. I rotated my desk to face my window. I have no idea why I didn't do this before, but it was super clutch for last night's snowfall. Take this time to grab some water, have a sip, some tea, and journal with me. Enjoy, and have a great day. Hey Google, turn on patio lanterns. Hey Google, turn on patio lanterns. Thanks.